United Front. What you want, what you want, what you want?
To the Knowledge Radio.
We in here. What you got? Dot.
Work hard as a slave to one day be your savior. The wave unwavering. This is a labor of love. Rise with a purpose every day. Invigorated. If we were on TV, we'd be 10 times syndicated. If we waited for validation, a paycheck or accolades, we'd be starved, already lost or ran away. But when you're square solid in your circle too, you don't need a place for silence. The concept is conquered through media, not areas of people activity. A mix that don't lose ethnicity, tightness that don't lose elasticity. Explicitly, this isn't where we give the novice regard. Nah, this is where knowledge is born. Last time that I checked, I'm undefeated. Deliver edicts, can't resist when the gods build and manifest freedom. When lines get crossed, they may push a loss, cause they get handed a check. We kick your can and cancel your cancerous gestures. A prophet vision, precision, the prescription for the sickness is to inoculate your fate with the winning. Arrogant beginnings turn to humble endings. And US with KBA is a win-win. 1K, 1K.
Now, why would a dictator do that? Why would he make his number one priority when he took over as dictator to disarm the public? The Second Amendment is there, and it was put in there not for hunting and fishing like they like to say. It was put in there so the citizens would have the ability, if their government became oppressive, they could defend themselves against oppressive government. And I think that overrules all the gun deaths, because let's remember something. A gun is simply a tool. People kill people.
Surely we be ready once that war has gotten heavy. Kept them burners by the bevy. Turn that defense to confetti. Steady aiming where your children at. Damage where you building at. Annihilate you from the map. This is more than just a rap. Presidents crying over babies don't move me. When they've been killing babies worldwide, you can't fool me. Just another tactic to take us off our axis. That routine practice to keep us on snooze. Everyone's associated, I don't watch the news. Claiming I'm affiliated, I don't know them dudes. I just keep it front line, 12 gauge shot rhyme. Aim for the head, make sure the shoulder don't bruise. I choose freedom over cake and find royalties, even for the sake to integrate in popularity. Just for more clarity, you ain't really scaring me. It's really no surprise to anyone with open eyes to this. Demagogue, label you an outlaw, confiscate your gun law, come into your crib then pinned up, got your family hemmed up, even with your chin up, you can't feel your manhood. Slowly turn around and tell your family get down. No one make a sound and put your face into the ground. Anything said again, we pump that hot lead again. This is all American, take that. Simple question, we don't manufacture weapons. How we get them Smith & Wessons, how they circulate the hood. They bring them here in boats, mainly for the youth to choke. Send them pigs to get them yoked, we have a vigil, all good. But I'm from school of fist fights, jump you if you seem psych. Ruger AK just in case they want my birthright. Damn right, NRA is in the bed with government. Same aim, same damn name, same covenant. Media, working overtime to put the fear in ya. Church praying hard, but that blonde ain't really hearing ya. Area, a war zone for all the wrong reasons, and other countries killed for lacking water in their region. Squeezing, imitating Scarface and Al Capone. Time for battle and they'll be hiding till the smoke's gone. Had them dogs at your door like a 64. Hope he missed pointless, he never missed before. Demagogue, label you an outlaw, confiscate your gun law, come into your crib then pinned up, got your family hemmed up, even with your chin up, you can't feel your manhood. Slowly turn around and tell your family get down. No one make a sound and put your face into the ground. Anything said again, we pump that hot lead again. This is all American, take that. Plan for civil war, and if you ask me, the blueprint, mandatory weapon for the family. Candidly, Nat Turner burner most amicably. Make his soul go from the flow to the canopy. Some say I'm violent, and I should stay silent. Meanwhile, strippers have a right to defend ourselves, but my team keep the magazines clean with the hollow peas, red, black, and green bandanas on the shelves. Combat boots for the soldiers, all 12s. Comedic lexicon over prepaid cells. This is why they terrify, fear that we'll get unified. Realize the war is on us and break hell. And of course, they'll offer support when it's popping off. Give you proper transport, show you to the Holocaust. It's a siege outside, no man is safe from. You can hide, but you can't run. Mazel tov. Demagogue, label you an outlaw. Confiscate your gun law. Come into your crib, then pinned up. Got your family hemmed up. Even with your chin up, you can't feel your manhood. Slowly turn around and tell your fam to get down. No one make a sound and put your face into the ground. Anything said again, we pump that hot lead again. This is all American. Take that back.
Trenton, New Jersey, please meet up from the Ruby Salah.
Southern boy up north, still about 3/5 respected even by himself. 3-piece pinstripe, leather belt, hat tip, 90 degrees. Cufflinks, telemade, initials laid, BS. Mr. Big Shot or Mr. Bullshit or Mr. Black Sucker, but still most won't deny. The flip side, still verbatim. Loose denim, venom style, small gold decadent. A pinky ring, of course. Sipping whites only lemonade under the flimsy shade on the porch. The source spilling residues of slave-made guillotines cooperating to remain coexistent, jolted nonetheless. While fatty girls head first, dead last, swing upright from right bright timberland trees. The proof is in your royalties, mailed into your ghetto, spent on amaretto. Titanus-sized handguns, white bulletproof strollers, black bulletproof soldiers. Mad farms, mills is still sucked of natural resource, but thin is in, of course. And Coltrane is overlooked. And rap concerts are overbooked. And 40 ounces are now found in the same aisle as the grits. Checked out by dropouts that now check out hits. And beats your broken heart eating gumbo on the porch. Salon-made redheads, picture perfect in the bins. A picture perfect Uncle Ben's. Willie Lynch blueprint laid across the dash. A bamboozled airbag, anticipating the driver's crash. Peace.
Yeah. We're back for another one. We are back for another one. It's going down on a Monday night. Y'all celebrating Muhammad Ali, MLK Day, and the transition day of one of our greats, Patrice Lumumba. And we're getting together to discuss the Black plight in the Americas, conservatively speaking. And we got the one and the only, the mastermind, the educator, and the true seeker, no matter who feelings it hurts, that Israelite warrior, Sass Shwa Lewi in the building, conservatively speaking. Shalom.
Shalom. What's good?
Shalom. What's good? How are you?
I'm good. Oh, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. Okay?
I'm all over the place. MLK
Okay.
Day. It's MLK Day. And
Muhammad Ali Day.
yes.
And Patrice Lumumba Transition Day. Also.
Okay.
Together. Okay. And we conservatively speaking on Black Conservatism in America, Part 1.
Part 1.
Yes.
Part 1. I'm sorry. I'm glancing. All right. So what is this? What is this one about again? Explain a little bit.
This one is a little bit about Black conservatism in America. Okay. What is conservatism? And
how is it black?
Well, how is it Yeah. How is it black? We'll just run
How
with
is
that.
it black? And how
How
is it
is it
black?
black? Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess we're gonna get into that, right? We're gonna
Yes.
get into that.
Yes.
But let me read something really quick, right? It's not that long, but I just want to really quick and then tell you who said it. So the system of government that America has consists of committees. There are 16 senatorial committees that govern the country and 20 congressional committees. 10 of the 16 senatorial committees are in the hands of Southern racialists, senators who are racialists. 13 of the 20, this is before the last election, I think, it is even more so now. 10 of the 16 senatorial committees are in the hands of senators who are Southern racialists. 13 of the 20 congressional committees were in the hands of Southern congressmen who are racialists, which means out of the 36 committees that govern the foreign and domestic direction of that government, 23 are in the hands of Southern racialists, men who in no way believe in the equality of man, and men who do anything within their power to see that the black man never gets to the same seat or to the same level that they're on. The reason that these men from that area have that type of power is because America has a seniority system. And these who have this seniority have been there longer than anyone else because the black people in the areas where they live can't vote. And it is only because the black man is deprived of his vote that puts these men in positions of power that gives them such influence in the government beyond their actual intellectual or political ability, or even beyond the number of people from the areas that they represent. That was said by Malcolm X at Oxford. So we're going to get into it.
Yeah.
That will be broken down, of course, but that is something I wanted to read to start us off. But we're going to get into our conversation, right? Our discussion.
Yes.
All right. Here we go.
Shout out to Malcolm X for whooping ass all over the planet. Okay. Everywhere he went, he whooped ass. Okay. He was whooping that ass over there. And he did it with a smile. Ass whooping with a smile.
He used his freedom of speech, his First Amendment rights, everywhere he went.
Yeah.
Everywhere he went. Okay.
And the conciseness of our enemy's language. Yeah.
Very important.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Conservatism in America. Okay. What got you interested in conservatism, the conservative way of life, core values, and such?
That is a cray question because I was born a conservative. I just didn't know that. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what it meant when I did hear that word. But after growing up and understanding how this place works, I've always been a conservative. I think most Black people are. But if you're asking me, how did I come into being, becoming interested in these type of disciplines? Well, when I was undergraduate, moons ago, I took a class called Nature of Politics because those classes are, they're what do you call them? They're necessary courses. Like you have to take this type of course in order to, other than your major courses, in order to get a degree, right? So at first I wasn't too happy about having to take that because I was like, I'm not into this boring type of, reading. It's a lot of memorization and writing, and I'm like, oh God, just give me my business classes and give me my science classes, and that's it. So I had to take this class, and we started off with no other than Sophocles, right? Straight out the gate, we're talking about tragedies, right? So this is like a negative thing, right? So I mean, I was like, wow, okay, so there is some spice in this. I'll rock with it. I'll read some of these plays or whatever. We were asked to think about why things were happening in these plays, like Antigone. I don't know if you've read that before. Um, I have that book right here on the shelf, Sophocles. Antigone is a tragedy. So what she had us doing, the professor had us doing, was she had us thinking. So not only did we have to memorize and write, we also had to think a lot. And that was the hardest thing to do. That was the hardest thing to do. I'm not sure if people think a lot, because when you think about a lot, you'll find out a lot about yourself. Being presented with different issues, situations, or whatever, just sit back and kind of, think about how you would approach it, or how someone should approach it, or uh, what type of way they should approach things. It's the hardest thing to do. So in that class, I had to think a whole lot. And we also had to learn about a lot of different thinkers. So the next one was no other than Plato, right? So they're taking us from the ancient times all the way up to modern times with these thinkers. And along with these thinkers, you get their philosophies, and their ideologies, the way they think and the way they approach life. It's interesting to hear each one, so to read about each one, discuss each one's. Mostly we're talking about, um, ancient philosophers, as well as, um, the classical ones, modern ones, um, in the current ones we have, mostly being in the university, we're talking about, um, white ones. So these are all white thinkers, and um, their influence on the world and on politics specifically. Then you'll start to realize, like, wow, okay, this is how the world is ran. And once you understand who's running what, you learn how to deal with them appropriately. But if you don't have any idea of what's going on around you, and you're just, you know, the Bible calls them sheep, then that's who you'll be. I think that, um, and I've heard several people say, I mean, like famous people and people I talk to, like, professors and chairmen and, Africana Studies Department, is saying that people who are into politics and pay attention to the order of the day, those are the people that matter in society. Those are the people who push society where it's going, if that makes sense. Um, they just don't take their votes for granted. They're out there influencing other people to vote a certain way so we can get a certain result. So, in saying all of that, it is boring, to say the least. From what people tell me, it's boring. I don't find it boring. I love philosophy, history, U.S. history to be specific, African philosophy, and African religions. That is my specialties, and it has been for a very long time. It's just that when you get on the internet and stuff, you want to have fun and kind of leave that stuff alone, and or whatever. But it just shoot the breeze. Well, shoot the breeze means something new. My daughter told me I probably shouldn't have used that. It doesn't mean what it mean anymore, right? Let me take that back. Or you just want to chill out or whatever. You don't want to get too serious, but you're hearing a lot of, I would say, nonsense on the internet about, and you can basically tell if people know what they uh talking about or not. And I read that thing from, and that speech, it wasn't a speech, it was a response to a question that Malcolm X answered. And I read that to show that he understands how the US government works. It's important to know how your system of government works, all the different branches, what they do, how they do it, understanding the state government, all the way down to local governments, understanding where you come in and how you can make an impact. And they try to make it seem, and I'm gonna say the naysayers, they try to say, or the people in power, or people who are spewing this nonsense that Black people don't vote, and since we don't vote, we don't matter. Our votes are not getting through, so our voice is not getting heard, and this is why things can't change for us. It's a bold-faced lie, because we do vote. We do vote. Not to say that we vote the right way. That's probably my opinion, but we do vote. So, in saying all of that, I think I've said enough. I think I've said enough about that. But the whole point is that that's how I got into it. I have a genuine interest in U.S. history, U.S. government, especially in the school system. It's called American government, and yeah, and how it applies to Black people, the similarities between Africans and this type of government, the principles that I guess the goals of conservatism, they basically line up, if I should say so myself. But anything else, sir?
Yes, let's get into those goals and how they specifically line up. Well, how they line up.
How do they line up? Well,
What are the goals of conservatism, and how do they align with Black people and Black interest and
how they line up? I
Black
mean,
goals
it's
and stuff?
it's ideology. It's just the way you think. I mean, it's everybody wants to, regardless if they admit it or not, they want to be on top. Everybody wants to be on top. Okay, if I could snap my finger right now and say we didn't have to do any hard work for Black supremacy to exist, I would snap my fingers right now and make it exist. Forget everybody else. And that's my word, right? So, living living how they call it in God, with like holding hands. How do you say that? Like help me.
You talking about the kumbaya, the utopian?
That stuff. That harmony. There you go. Living in harmony or whatever. No, you get nowhere with harmony. Okay, nature of politics started out with a tragedy. Okay, no, there's no living in harmony. There's none. When it comes to outsiders, if there was harmony, there wouldn't be several political parties or different groups of people doing different things or whatever. If there was harmony, no, people believe in what they want to believe in, and then try to assert that, right? So I mean, seven core principles of conservatism. You just simply Google that. Everybody has it. I'm gonna go in the order that they talk about individual freedom. You find individual freedoms on the liberal side as well. There's no difference. It says here, it says that all men are created equal, and that God, granted by God, right? So what it says, rights and inalienable rights to life, liberty, and free speech and all other stuff that you find in the Constitution, right? The person that contributed, or a person that they used, a philosopher that they used, the Federalists used to put together the Constitution, came from a philosopher, John Locke, and he said the same thing. But he was a liberal. He wouldn't be your modern liberal today, but he was a liberal, and that made it into the Constitution. So those are some things that that lines up um with the way we do things or how we think, right? Would you say so?
Yes.
Yes. It says here, limited government, right? A lot of people would say, I know people say about conservatives that that's meaning that they're selfish, they don't want to share anything. No, it has nothing to do with that. What it is that we want, we don't want people coming into our lives telling us what to do. That's it. We just don't, we don't need, um, but there is a place for some government, and that place would be for the government to make sure, you know, that the Constitution, everyone has their rights upheld according to the Constitution, right? That's essentially what the government is supposed to be for, not to be something that you go on and beg them for, like welfare and all this money, and I'm hungry, feed me type of thing. So because you know what that means. You go begging them for something, they're gonna, have you for the rest of your life. That's basically how that goes. The rule of law, that's the Constitution. Everything is supposed to go back to the Constitution, and not to divert from it. Constitution has you have in the Constitution the abolition of slavery. So I'm all for the Constitution. You have the First Amendment, Second Amendment rights. Those are the most important ones to me. Due process is what the 13th. That one, I rock with the fourth. Most of them I do. But for the most part, that is something that benefits Black people. I know there's white people running around talking about they hate the Constitution is racist because they're reading about this 3/5 of you know, the sister was talking about kind of in that thing you played and the audio you played. Everybody's stuck on that, but not actually going in and trying to pull that together. Um, these laws do not have anything that says Black people in them. We have to understand that civil rights laws don't have color in it, and you're understanding what I mean, right? By that.
Yes.
So it's to the benefit of the government to, kind of exercise their responsibility in making that happen, right? And when they don't, what happens? Chaos happens, right? Chaos happens. Um, so we have the rule of law, and we can get into that another time about begging this government to you know protect our rights, right? Because that's a whole nother subject. That's a whole nother thing. Um, peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, and human dignity. So those are our self-explanatory. Those are the principles of conservatism.
So where does the confusion come in then? Because this sounds like anybody who has interest in seeing that people go further, where does the erosion come in between? Because when we look back historically, and I'll just stay there, there there are two iconic figures in our history that were conservative. You know, how do we go from the Honorable Marcus Garvey and Booker T. Washington to the erosion that we would see and the dissension that we would see over time?
The erosion. Well, they don't make. I'm gonna say it like this: God doesn't make people like Booker T. Washington and Malcolm X and anymore. I could say that. That I can say. And number two, I can also say that we just threw the towel in. You cannot make someone love you. It's either you accept that or or you don't. When you accept it, you find a way to live with it. That's it. There's nothing more to say about that. There's nothing more to say about that. So you're speaking about conservative people who just happen to be black who side with white supremacy. That's what you're referring to.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the answer for that. Not all conservative people who are black do side with white supremacy. Not all. If that makes sense, because if we're going to talk about that, we got to bring up parties, and we're not going into parties, right?
No.
And we're not going into policy tonight, right? All right.
No.
Right. So, conservatism from the authority of the English language, the only authority, okay? And that's a fact. The definitive record of the English language. You only go to Oxford. I hope everybody knows this. Conservatism, the holding of conservative principles. I read the principles out. Tendency to resist great or sudden change. Tendency to resist great or sudden change, especially in politics. Adherence to traditional values and ideas. And it's sometimes opposed to by liberals, right? So that's what conservatism, that's what the definition is according. But we keep going. And it comes from, it's a doctrine or practice of the Conservative Party of Great Britain or a similar party elsewhere. And they bring in Toryism. So, I don't want to get into that because that is boring, right? When you start getting into religions, world religions and philosophy and what do you call them? And political theory, right? So it gets kind of boring. It says a tendency to resist evolutionary change. So conservatives are hit with, they want to keep the old stuff in, like slavery. That's the word on the street, and that's been on the word on the street for a long time. Slavery was abolished. Chattel slavery is gone in this country, right? From what we know from our ancestors, it's totally gone. So, that was a very dramatic, change that happened. So, that would make that point no. Right now, like people running around saying that, can't really say that anymore and it sound coherent. So if we're talking about, racial issues and the treatment of black people and things like that, we need to start dealing with the issue like it's supposed to be dealt with. And I know that on your channel, you have a lot of people come on, even yourself, talking about how that is supposed to be addressed, right? But to make up
That's right.
But to make up untruths, and to still run with this as if child slavery still exists in this country, and to and to use it as an excuse to say we need to be paid reparations, monetarily, it's disingenuous. That's how I feel about that. It's very disingenuous because that is not it. It doesn't. No one's going to take that seriously. That's a form of that unjustified extremism that Malcolm X talks about. And when you're unjustified in your extremism, no one's going to listen to you. Nobody's going to hear you because you don't sound coherent. You have no problem. They're saying, oh, they just don't know any better. We're going to go with business as usual. But if it was dealt with the way it's supposed to be dealt with, you can, people will start jumping through hoops and doing things that they're supposed to be doing. But we just haven't gotten there yet. So
overnight.
Right. We just not have gotten there yet. And that's because God does not make people like, our ancestors, like the masterminds and the doers.
Quicker than an Afghani crossing the border, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So that unjustified extremism has got to stop. All of that, all those conversations have got to stop because we sounded silly. We sounded real silly. So yeah. The next question.
Well, we got a few minutes left.
All right. Well,
Save
let
some
me
for part 2. So you have the floor.
let me
Ma'am.
see. Let me see. What am I going to do? What am I gonna do here? All right. So I deal with Oxford, and I've said that before because the reason why I do is because Oxford tells no lies. And what I mean by that is that their histories are transparent. They tell it like it is. White supremacy is the order of the day. It's theirs. It exists. And they have no problem sharing it with the world. None. Zero zip. There's no covering up for anything. There's no sympathy. There's no, kumbaya or harmony. It's just what it is. They put it out there. So there's no such thing as a Black conservative. It's just that there's conservatives that happen to be Black people, and to some that may be like eye-opening. It's still like it's Black conservatives are looked at kind of crazy, like, you're siding with, the white. No, we're not. No, we're not. When we're talking about Black conservatism, we're not talking about Black conservatism as of today. We're talking about what Booker T. Washington was talking about. He had his own principles, his own conservative principles, right? Which do align with conservative principles. They do. But he goes into nation building and how we can advance the people of our race. This is how he said it. This is how we do it. And he explains it right off the jump in Up from Slavery, right? I believe like what first chapter he talks about. I mean, right off the rip, right there, he tells you how to do it. He told you the condition of the white man, during the Civil War and after. He told you. And that was a pivotal time in history where Black people, Black community could have ran with that and became very successful. Very, very successful. And Black supremacy could have existed. And what he taught was the principle: self-reliance, being thrifty, and having your independence from the government. You do not want to be dependent on the government. You want to be government free. And that's what we're supposed to be, right? I know that they threw darts at him, was talking crap, even had his own people talking crap against him because they just didn't understand. Or they were just bought. I'm just leave it at that because there's a whole bunch of Stevens all throughout history, right? Worse, a whole lot of them. You have Marcus Garvey, dubbed as a separatist, right? And he was for the advancement of Black people. That's it. That's all that mattered to him. And so much so he started his own organization. What does it say here? It says he stated that the Universal Negro Improvement Association seeks independence of government, while the other organization seeks to make the Negro a secondary part of existing governments. So that's where you get that throwing in the towel and just siding with white supremacy comes from. He wanted none of that. Wanted his independence away from it, his own thing. There were plenty of Black conservatives, and I'm only using that word Black conservatives so people understand that better. We have, for the most part, Black people are conservatives. They just are. And for the most part, our major enemy have been what? Liberals, liberal ideas. And you can see that through the histories, U.S. histories. And you can make that determination. Even in the response that I read from Malcolm X in the beginning, he told you about your Southern, racialists, Who were they? That's your homework. Who were they? Somebody answer that. I wonder if someone will get it right. Find out who those racial socialists, those Southern racialists were, and you'll have your answer. And I think that thinking should be taught in the schools. Philosophy is very important. Learning your religion, I mean, profoundly, like really learning what your religion is. Your parents bring you up in a certain way, try to learn it and try to understand why it's there and what it means. Because you'll be surprised to learn that it's teaching what you need to go through this world. And I guess I'll leave it at that. So, any other questions? Anything I said that provoked the question?
Yes, the last thing I wanted to, since we have our illustrious warrior ancestor, Booker T. Washington, up here, the claim of accommodationist. Can you destroy that just real quick?
Destroying it. Well, he was. No, because
My bad.
every time I hear a so-called Black scholar referring to Booker T. Washington as an accommodationist, they're automatically siding with white supremacy. There, I said it. That's white supremacist ideology there. There's no way. In order to advance, our people, you need capital, right? There's nothing nowhere that says you cannot work with someone in order to advance, your race. I'm gonna say it the way he says it. The thing is that there's principles, and I know the principles in the Bible. Booker T. Washington was very critical about preachers in church and things like that, but he read his Bible. If you read his book, you understand that he read his Bible in the right parts. Okay, so he understood eye for an eye. While he was going and getting his money and they was sitting him up there, and while he was doing these speeches and all this other stuff, he was great. He was building a great education system for Black people. And that's a fact. That's a fact. That has been co-signed by everybody, in the discipline of history, of US history. It's undeniable in what he created. And he only created for who? Black people. Only for Black people. Did he bring white folks into it? No. I mean, I need somebody to show me that. How is he accommodating to anyone when no one else was allowed? I'll wait. We're gonna be waiting forever, right? If you're
Still
there,
waiting.
no, if I
Still
can.
waiting.
Yeah, oh, you're waiting.
Still,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I was
That's what I'm
waiting too.
saying, because I gave up.
I
was
should have
like,
played the
Yeah.
I should have did it. But
please show me where there was a white person who was able to go to his HBCU. I'll wait again. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, come on now. Booker T ran game on them crackers. I'm just saying. And he was brilliant. He was masterful in everything that he did. He never held any grudges. He didn't borrow nothing. He made it so they gave it to him. He had to do nothing. Essentially, he was just there and speaking, sitting there with them, just chilling, talking, whatever. Oh, but we need you to speak over here at this. No, okay. But he brought all of that, all those resources back to where? To his school, to his people, where he taught them trade skills. He was a master at many trades. He believed that we should have held on to them. We no longer have them. That is our fault. That's
If
our
these
fault.
two men weren't speaking, nobody after them would be speaking.
Exactly.
We'll just
That's
put
true.
it out there like that.
That is true.
Nobody.
That is
These
true.
two men weren't speaking. No men, no black men after them would be speaking. Okay, because ain't nobody gonna stop no sister from saying nothing. I'm just be clear with that. But no men. So for all you men who out there speaking and lecturing and all that, this is your descendancy. This is where you come from. This is your ancestral speaking lineage in this country.
He brought no white women back. Nothing. He had 3 wives. They were 3 black women. He had black children. And I know some people come up against me because, listen, that whole mixing thing. Okay, so Booker T. Washington talks about, his mother. All he knows is black. That's it. That's all he knows is his race. That's it. He said, I heard, my father was some white man on another plantation or whatever, but due to the circumstances, my birth, I wasn't meant to be here, but I am here and I'm going to try to advance my race. This is what he said. He saw his own brother suffering, in himself in the coal mines. He was like, oh no, we can't do this. And if we're going to do something like this, we're going to do it for ourselves. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So he was pro-black. I'm going to say it again. He was pro-black. By circumstance and by blessing of God, he was brought here. He was brought here for a reason. And the most respected, I would say, black man in the United States, right? The most respected. It always goes back to Booker T. Always. Because he understood the game. He understood the game. He played the politics. He understood, but he never betrayed the people of his race. That's what he said. My people. And that's the way he spoke. And he was very serious and he put in the work and he trained a whole lot of people, even females, black girls and black women in blue collar trades.
This is where STEAM and STEM comes from. This is where STEAM and STEM comes from. Because the Honorable Malcolm Desire Garvey added art. So STEM and STEAM that everybody running around talking about, Booker T called y'all Negro intellectuals. Okay? Y'all not the same as him.
Wait. Articulate
said,
Negroes.
Yeah, right. The articulate Negroes that's running around here today. Negro intellectuals, they call in the other circles.
I'm calling them articulate.
These articulate Negroes who running around here trying to get a piece of the pie instead of doing for self.
Right. I've never had that problem before. If you're articulate and you can speak a certain kind of way, then you're just automatically smart and you know what you're talking about. No, you only get on the faculty, of a science, and I will call African philosophy a science. Okay, is if you know something. I don't see anyone, and like I said, Africans are scholars. It's just that we're not talking about them. But I hope soon I will bring out some African conservatives from Africa and their ideologies about how society should be ran and the ideas that we should be sharing and teaching to our children and passing down. You probably will be surprised about what you learn. So yeah, while we're wasting time bumping our gums, right? And not doing anything. I mean, every little thing helps. And I will be the first to say that in your own community, it helps. Every little thing you could do to help someone in your community, it doesn't go overlooked. It adds to our progress. It doesn't matter. But if you're sitting around just bumping your gums, you're just a part of the problem. It's a part of the problem. So, Booker T. Washington had himself. He just had himself. and he made a great impact. Marcus Garvey had himself, and he made a great impact. Okay, a lot of our ancestors, even some today, they are doing some really good work. You may not know them, and there's a lot of Africans on the continent too doing work as well. You may not know them. Everybody is not famous, but there's people working around the clock. Let me tell you how we are the majority on the earth. And we're still the majority on the earth, so that means we're doing something right, right? You have those outside agitators, those minorities that, come in and then pull us out, steal us out. And it's happening in today. I mean, there's no difference. We just have to get our houses in order and understand that we need to be dependent on ourselves. That's all we need. That's all we need. We should have like a bunch of schools, open, trying to figure out how to get people to kind of sign on to that. That's the hardest thing to do in the Black community. Like, because I've asked around, like, look, we can get a school. Look, the Black Muslims have their own schools. How come we can't have our school too? Let us have our school, And people say, well, I don't want to get into like religion or what. It doesn't matter. If a thing causes unity and it can build alliances amongst all of the, different, ideologies, I say that's a win. I say it's a win and it's moving into a different direction. But I will never give up. I will keep trying, you know, to make to try to get that school off the ground. So, and businesses are good too. But I think we need more educational centers. In addition
That is a
to
fact.
right, in addition to the education that our kids are getting. So it's that supplemental that's very important. You see it in other cultures. After school, they go to another school and they learn the histories of their own people and their culture, and they learn the religions and the rights and everything. And
Why
they
do you
stay
think
whole,
your
right?
enemy has after school programs? Because they know they don't
Mhm.
want them disconnecting from that dependency.
Mhm.
And also, I know you don't like the psychology standpoint, but it's a continual mind map that runs on a loop. You have somebody who doesn't look like you all day long, and then you get out of school and you go to somebody else who doesn't look like you. Somebody who doesn't look like you is feeding and clothing your children
Mhm.
invisibly, and then they go to them visibly. They're visibly there interacting with them. They don't share your values. They don't share your cultural folkways, mores, and norms. As a matter of fact, they're an aversion to all that you stand for and exist. You got them all day. You're working for them all day. Then you come home after they go from there to there, and they at home arguing with you. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
your inheritance, your legacy, those ones who's supposed to carry on your family name, they're yours in name only.
Right.
That's what I heard anyway. Shout out to Google. You
Shout
know,
out. Yeah.
the Google, the
The Google.
Almighty,
Yep. The Google.
the Almighty Google.
Didn't our first Black female VP disaster say just Google it? That's what she said the other
Yeah,
day.
just yes,
Just Google it. That's all.
yes, Google it.
After saying that Black people don't have no internet. But anyway,
Yeah, she stole that from Fredro because Fredro said it first. He said, "Do your Googles." Okay, shout out to Fredro Star.
oh man.
Word.
We have to get back to the conservative principles, like when back in the 60s when Black women needed help and had to get welfare. It was nobody's business. Nobody wanted you to know. They did not want you to know that they were taking anything from the government. Food stamps. It was just a big embarrassment, and that was all up into the 90s. 2000s came along. 2010. Now everybody's like, I wish I had food stamps. I wish I could get Section 8, or I got, I'm going to get this check and I want to get, like it's brand new. this dependency is brand new. And I won't say that it's all our fault for that happening, but you know, there's no shame. There's none. There's no shame and there's no will to get up out of it. Um and now it's time's about to get really hard. Times is really about to get hard in a lot of places. So we'll see what happens. I know that Queen Rona was able to now get black kids homeschooled, and a lot of black children are, their parents are picking curriculums that are African-centered. Because I have been doing some research about that. They're specifically looking for online black schools, and black curriculum, that includes, you know, the things that we believe in and the things that we came from. And I think that's important. They're like, after public school now, like we've seen the detriment. We're tired of this. The resistance against, government, and we're being blamed for causing all the problems because, you know, um, we don't want to comply. And that's good. I think that's a good thing. I'm glad that we're no longer we're resisting. I'm sure there's a whole lot of us that got right into the line and complied, but it's a lot of us, and they're speaking about us in the national news and everything. They call us the unvaccinated, right? And and we're the problem. We're causing it. So, once again, we're in the forefront as we always are. We do make impacts. We are important. Black lives always matter. We don't need nobody to tell us that. We're the majority on the planet. It always mattered. You know, um, so that whole garbage with that, we could, yeah, that's another topic. That's garbage. It's because we already know. And all the lies is being told about us. We should be offended. We should be mad. Like, we should be getting upset. Like, why are these people lying on us? Why they saying we doing this and we doing that and we're really not? Or this is happening to us and it's not. Why don't we deal with the real problem? Let's get down to the nitty gritty. These are called deflections, right? Of what is, of covering up you know, the real stuff, and once, and black people are, turning away from liberalism and coming to conservatism now. And the polls show that, you know, we can do a show on voting and how I can prove to you that black people vote and black people are not, and are able to vote today. There's no issue with that, and how we should be offended when somebody says that we don't have an ID or we can't get somewhere or we don't know how to work a computer or use the internet, or you know what I'm saying, or we're deprived, or and all this other stuff. We should be offended, and we should be speaking up against that type of talk when it comes to our own. No, yes, no.
Goddamn right.
We do what we want, okay? We do what we
Yeah.
want.
Yes.
We do what we want. We don't need somebody coming out telling
Stuttering Walter
us.
and
Walter.
stuttering Black VP Disaster
Yeah, that disaster there.
need to know their role in the name of The Rock. Just like The Rock says. The Rock says, know your role and shut your stuttering ass mouth.
Remember, I was telling you. I said I can critique Malcolm X. I can I can also find fault with an MLK and any of our old freedom fighters. Why? Because I'm older than them now. They died young. You know what I'm saying? So they lived through a time where they were young. They weren't old people, and they didn't do everything perfectly either. There's a lot of things that they could have done better, you know? So, and we need to take that into account as well and learn from, our history. That's all. So no,
That's right.
nobody's perfect. Nobody is perfect. It isn't, but they set the tone, The 60s was a great time for Black people, even though, there was a lot of, you know, brutality happening, it was a good time for Black people back then. As far as getting, you know, our voices heard and things like that. Um, the amount of courage, you know, Black people had. It wasn't just them, the famous ones. It was people on the ground too. I mean, that never get mentioned. Um, I know that in U.S. history, because U.S. history is Black history, people. Um, Extensively, you can get really deep into the victories, you know, of Black people during those times, even in the 1800s, 1700s. I mean, it just goes way back. You know, it doesn't. You know, I feel like that stuff can motivate us. You know, um, uh, words like machine intimidate us, and but in reality, government is very small. It's very small. It's very small. So I think education is important. Malcolm broke it down to you, and his knowledge about how American government works, just to show you. He's giving you the numbers of in the different areas of the legislature. Um, we have to know this stuff. We have to know this stuff. And I know it can be boring, but your life depends on it. Like it's literally your life depends on it.
Can you count suckers?
So I think that's it. But I think that everyone should, you know, take the time to read all kinds of schools of thought. It's important. All of them matter. Yes. Know thy enemy. My favorite book, philosophical of philosophical thinkers, is by William William Ebenstein. Okay, there we go. Great political thinkers, Plato to the present, and good book to start getting your feet wet. Getting your feet wet. In political theory and just philosophy across the board, and the different theories. And once you read this book, you'll understand and can be able to identify what type of ideology, thought, or idea someone in your government is using. You know, when they make their decisions. You know, because they're following somebody. The Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. This stuff is being used over and over and over and over again. And it'll take a little piece of thought here and put it into this bill, or you know what I'm saying, or you know, kind of shape it into whatever. Even learning about the different rulerships, dictatorships, governments all around the world is really, really important as well. So because it is detrimental, you know, in a lot of ways. Black people are everywhere, right? So I think we should be concerned. But yes, most Black people, and I will say, are conservative, going across the board, because they side with you know, with people instead of policy. This is where we fail. So I think I'm done with that. But my question, my quiz question still stands. Who are those Southern racialists? I need a profile.
Who are them Southern racialists? We need a profile.
Yeah, run them down. Who is it?
Run them down.
Who is Malcolm talking about?
Who was Malcolm talking about? Okay. So this has been part one of Black Conservatism in America. More to follow, more to come. We thank you.
Yep.
Professor Sass, we're making it plain up in here, okay?
Yeah, on a macro level.
On the macro level.
To keep things simple, because it's not that hard. It's deep, but it's not that hard.
All right.
Oh, one more thing. And watch C-SPAN. Yeah. When they're on the floor of the House and the floor of the Senate, and when they're in committee, just listen to it while you're doing whatever you're doing, surfing the web or working or whatever. It's important to know what your government is doing and what decisions it's making for you. I'm done. Oh, yeah. Shalom. Shalom. Good night.
Yeah. Now we gonna tell them. Night in front. We tell them like this, yo. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a African. Yeah, y'all like that? No more. This man's mind is open. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a. Let's get
And
back
that
to
motive
the
is best developed by recognizing the common enemy.